Right, so I seen this morning on Twitter, and I thought I'd make a video about it because it is a pretty important issue, if not the most important issue going on in Alberta now, and I mean even in Canada. But I mean it's not important. The Eastern Canada, I mean, they would still benefit from rational policy, but it would most benefit Alberta. But basically, the gist is that I'll read it out here. The UN has a committee to challenge Trans Mountain pipeline construction. Time to stop contributing to the UN. Retweet if you agree. Work must stop on Trans Mountain Site C LNG pipeline until First Nations approval. UN committee says. Now, this is, I mean, it's crazy for many reasons. Number one, the UN is basically just a globalist organization that exists to, you know, increase the size and power of government. And the ultimate goal, more than likely, is to be, you know, several, if not, tens, 20s, 30s, 30, 40, 50 countries. I don't even know how many they would, the more the better in their minds, that are basically linked together. Maybe they're separate countries, but they're under single forms of government, all this kind of stuff. Now, for all the supporters of the UN, number one, none of those people are elected. Like, I thought you want democracy and all this kind of stuff. Now, you want democracy when it goes your way. When it doesn't go your way, well, then it's fascism, like, Donald Trump, all this kind of stuff. But the UN has a lot of power. Just the Trudeau government defers to them on a ton of stuff. They have the climate agreement. They have um, they're the ones that do the suggestions for the immigration or refugees, all this kind of stuff. And it makes no sense. Like, if another thing too is that if they're such a nonpartisan, unbiased organization, where is the UN challenging and criticizing India and China with all their you know, carbon output and all that kind of stuff? Like, where are they on that? Like, maybe they are, but even if they care, they wouldn't care about this kind of stuff. We're buying oil from the Middle East anyway. Even like it makes absolutely no sense. If if they actually care, like the amount of oil that's going to be used, it doesn't matter whether the Trans Mountain pipeline goes through it. The amount of oil being used in the world is still going to be the exact same. The difference would be is that Canadians, a country that's a first world country that has somewhat rational, somewhat fair legal system. I say that because there's two different sets of rules for different people. It's just our system's corrupt and people don't really like to admit it. And Middle Eastern systems, I think, are openly corrupt. And at least human rights is better here. It's still not great, but do you want Canadians and Canadian companies to benefit from making more money off oil, or do you want Middle Eastern companies that treat women like garbage, the treat gays horribly? Like, the left claims, oh, we care so much about women, my feminism, my gay rights, my LGBT rights. The concept of LGBT or gay rights or women's rights don't exist in these countries. Like, it's a foreign concept to them, and yet we bend over backwards for that here, and that's still not good enough. So the main point being is that, I mean, Alberta definitely should separate because a lot of people, I mean, I don't know if I've made myself perfectly clear. I do think Alberta should separate, and I don't even think it's a question. It boggles my mind how people, I mean, I understand why people question it, mostly because they've just been brainwashed and into not believing that it's a good thing, or they're just people who are on the left, and a more free market wouldn't benefit them, so they don't want it. And both, I mean, they're just lying to you basically. But the whole point being is that, yeah, Alberta separation would be great. So another thing we could do, we could get out from under the UN. Like, I don't, it boggles my mind. Like, Justin Trudeau gives, I don't know how much money to the UN, but why would you give money to a basically a governing government body that isn't elected? It makes no sense. And for all the people on the left that to support it, stop lying to people about your BS reasons for believing in it. The real reasons we all know, anyone with a brain can know, is that the UN serves to increase the size and power of government with the ultimate goal of, having different countries join to, having one, super government. That's why it exists. That's They might not be perfectly open about it, but that's why it exists. It's basically just, socialism on steroids, basically. That's the whole goal. So stop lying to people about the intentions, and just be honest, because one of the big reasons, like I say, people always wonder, why is there such a political divide today? Why is the, in the realm of politics things so heated? It's because we're not even honest about the debate. Like, we don't even know what to debate. Like, we have one side who can't even be honest with the other side. Now, the right, it's like the right is perfect. I know people are going to jump in and be like, oh, the right's not perfect either. Well, of course. But at least the right is honest. Like, the right doesn't have to lie about their intentions. The left, like, they'll like, I always use this example. You always have these people on the left that when you get into the debate about Trump and the border, those kind of people are always for open borders, but they'll never tell you they're for open borders. They'll always deny that. They'll deny it vehemently. But yet you'll go on to ask them, well, do you support a wall? No. Do you support, kicking illegals out of the country? No. Do you support, the border patrol? No. Do you want to decrease their funding or cut it right out? Yes. Or, all together. All those things are what open borders would look like, but yet they won't admit they're for open borders. And that's what it comes to with this kind of stuff, is that the reason why is that their beliefs aren't shrouded or in, any form of logic and reason. And they know that people on the right use logic and reason to come to their conclusions most of the time. A lot of it is, some of it's indoctrination, but if you're indoctrinated into believing something that's true, it's better than being indoctrinated into something that isn't true. And more than likely you have to use critical thinking to to teach someone that. And the problem is that they know in the back of their head that they didn't use critical thinking to get to where they were, so they have to lie to people. And that's kind of where we're at. So basically the main story is, this is just another reason to support Alberta separation. And it's getting pretty crazy out there. I know I seen a story the other day about a MP that he put out a survey, just asking his constituents. He used the federal conservative NDP for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan. You can look this up. Um, and he put it out, just a questionnaire. I don't know what all the questions were, but one of them was about Alberta separation, and he had all these people. Now he absolutely, he won the area very easily. So I hope he's not worried or apologizing. I haven't seen any of that stuff. But you had all these people that were super mad at him. It's like, that's the job of being in the government, is to gauge where people are at. Like, if it was the other way around, like, let's say he was, should do you support socialism, and all these people, like, and people on the right were, outraged, which they more than likely wouldn't be, but let's just say they were for sake of argument. Like, that's the whole point. Like I say, that's the whole point of being in the government, is to gauge where your constituents' beliefs are at. If your beliefs are completely different than your constituents, then you probably need to rethink those, or else and figure out why they believe what they believe. And it's just crazy. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is that the reason why the left gets so outraged with this kind of stuff is that they don't want the debate. Because if the debate would happen, it would prove which side is right on this kind of stuff. Which, that's why that you have all these people on the left that want to shut down the speakers. That, the right wing, a lot of them aren't even right wing, they just think they are, or they're just not far left, which in their minds means they're right wing. They shut these people down, and their simple reason is that they don't want the arguments to be heard, because the arguments are better than their arguments. The classic example was Andy No. He's like I say, he's very very outspoken, very very critical of Antifa, rightfully so, I guess is the best way of putting it. It's basically what he's known for, because he was beat half to death by Antifa. And he had an event. He was going to come to UBC, which is in Vancouver, if you don't know where that is. It's a university. And the event was, he was going to talk about left wing, radical political violence, all that kind of stuff. And it got shut down because of threats of violence. And that's just the irony of where we're at nowadays. And that, like I say, I just wanted to make that point, so, because it's just crazy. And I can't even begin to fathom some of these things that are going on nowadays. It's just getting so crazy out there. But that's kind of the whole video in and of itself. Like I say, the point being is that you have all these. Not only is the federal government fighting us, now we have the UN fighting us in Alberta, at least. And like I say, things aren't going to get better. I've said this before. Like I would easily give people 10 to 1 odds that things aren't going to get better. The only way things get better, and I don't even think they get that much